up all your servers. On-site or off-site, do you really think you have a need for off-site backups? Everybody says, well, I've been in business for 20 years and I haven't had a disaster yet. Well, I bet everybody's got insurance. So, it's just along those same lines. It's just an extra piece of insurance. And, it wasn't talked about in the past because it just wasn't an option. But as internet speeds are going up and costs for fast internet's going down, it's definitely something to think about that you can do out there. Obviously, you want your backups to happen fast. Some of those new tape drives are actually even faster than disk backups now, so you might not know that and might always just think about disk backups being the fastest. But you can actually get some bigger, super duper fast tape backups. We've had an agency that actually had a great productivity increase because by getting a faster backup drive, they were able to cut the time where people couldn't be in the system down. So they can have their remote users working later at night or earlier in the morning. So, obviously for best results, offsite backups should be provided. It's good if they can be gone to multiple data centers. If you're doing on-site backups, you definitely want those to be secured too. Think about encrypting your tapes and encrypting your hard drives. Obviously, you want to be taking your tapes and your hard drives off-site. It's good if you can have them more than a couple miles away from the office, because if a natural disaster happens, they usually spread over a couple mile radius at least. We all know that. So the backup and disaster recovery solutions, would optimally be able to run as your server. I mean, let's face it, being able to cut that downtime down to 30 minutes is a lot better for the business, based on a lot of the stats that we saw, that if a customer loses 10 days of business, half of them have gone out of business immediately. You want to avoid that whenever possible. It's important to, again, think about what your recovery time frame is, what you could afford. Figuring out how much it's costing you, again, to do business per hour and per day and per week versus what the cost of backups are. It's a big deal, because even if you're able to service your customers, what impression would your customers get if you say, well, we're down for a day? Or, well, I don't have your file right now. We have to get that back. We're having computer problems. We like to word that over here as the goodwill bank. You can only take the deposits out of that goodwill bank so many times from customers before it's empty. And then obviously, are you getting is your data protected 24 hours a day? Because with traditional backups, you're not. You're protected from just really a couple hours a day, because if something happens at 4 o'clock and your backup was at 10 o'clock last night, you lost today's work. How about on the holidays when nobody's in to change tapes, things like that? You're probably still getting email on the holidays, and what happens if one of those is about some business? So we've talked a lot about just backup technologies and this and that and restoring and costs. But I know a couple times I've mentioned restorable backups. Now, there are some big differences here between successful backups and restorable backups. And what we've done is we've listed the different statuses that successful and restorable backups can be in. And you'll see these in Backup Exec, especially with the newer versions. You've got the new thing called completed with exceptions. And I had somebody was reviewing this presentation and said, well, you made a mistake. You copied everything from successful to restorable. And yes, I did copy everything, but there's no mistake there. Successful backups can actually show as successful, completed with exceptions, or failed. Because you could have a backup that says it's failed because it couldn't connect to a resource, but that resource might be the email box of a user that doesn't work for you anymore. So you've got a successful backup there, even though it says failed. Same thing with completed exceptions. That just might mean a very unimportant file was in use and couldn't be backed up, or a very important file was in use and couldn't be backed up. And that's where the difference between a restorable and a successful comes in. Say you have a failure and it is a mailbox. A successful backup, might be deemed a user that doesn't really matter. But a restorable backup means that you're going to be able to restore those backups, no matter if it said it was successful, completed with exceptions, or failed. to get back in business. We've seen customers that have backups that say they're successful, but they're not restorable because they weren't backing up the correct information. So a couple things to make sure your backups are restorable and not just successful. One is to have the most backup space possible. Have the biggest tape drive and the biggest tapes that you need to back up all your data. Gone are the days of just only backing up the real important part. We don't want to mess with that, because all that does is that lengthens the time that it takes to get the system back up and running. You might say, well, I can download all that stuff again. Well, sometimes it takes a whole day to download all the programs you need. So that's why restorable backups are the ultimate importance, no matter what kind of solution we're talking about. We've seen customers be able to fully restore from a backup that said it was failed. We've seen customers not be able to restore from a backup that says successful. So again, the key is having all the space that you need to back everything up. Don't skimp on any selections just because it doesn't look important. But the other part is you want to do restore testing. For all our Smart Services customers, we do restore testing every quarter. And we take a look at not only files, but your email, your databases, and everything. So just like you date your tapes, if you're going to have 3 weeks worth of tapes, you're going to date them from when you bought them, and every year you're going to replace them. I would also mark on those tapes when they were restored from, because you want to do a couple things. You want to restore every now and then just to make sure your selections are right and everything's there, but you also want to restore from different tapes, making sure your tapes are totally working, because there could be good spots and bad spots on the tapes. Now with hard drives, there's not as big of a chance for that, but you still want to try to restore from all your different mediums and all your different pieces and bits of data. So I want to thank everybody for joining. I'm sure, again, that a lot of you have seen the solutions we've talked about, but I'm hoping to just educate everyone further on different ways to figure out how important backups are, different technologies out there, bring some things to light about data protection, encryption, and different things like that, so everybody can be able to be making better choices for your business. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email them to me at my email address shown here. We didn't get any questions during the webinar, so we're going to wrap it up. You can view this webinar if you want in just a couple of days. They'll be up on our website, which is smartservices.com. And I do hope that you join us for our next webinar coming up